Randomized block experiments are commonly used in many fields, including engineering. A randomized block design consists of separating the sample being experimented on into blocks based on a factor that the sample has in common that might influence the results. Once they have been separated into blocks, we randomly assign the treatment to each block and compare the findings. Our result will tell us whether or not the factors have an effect on the response variable. This diagram illustrates the procedure of a typical randomized block experiment. When conducting a randomized block experiment, one should account for any potential factors that will influence the response variable. As seen in the image, as the amount of possible factors increases, variability decreases. This is because we have less unknown factors contributing to the skewness of the response variable, so the results are more precise. Adding multiple factors to the design allows there to be blocks within a block. Engineers often run into situations where they must test for different possible factors that could be affecting a process or variable. This is why instead of using a completely randomized design, which does not account for potential factors that could skew the response variable, they will use blocking in order to manipulate all the factors involved to attain the results with the least variation possible. In a construction engineering experiment, two systems, a water suppression system and local exhaust ventilation system, were tested to identify which would reduce more dust while cutting roofing tiles. In the experiment, they blocked the systems to see if the efficiency of each system is affected by the roofing tile. The S-shaped tile had a larger reduction than flat tile in the water suppression system, but in the LEV system, the flat tile had more of a reduction than S-shape. Overall, the water suppression system reduced more dust than the LEV system. We can see that this method is much more effective than just a randomized experiment because they were able to find that the type of roofing tile affects the reduction of respirable dust concentration for each system. The main strength of blocking is that it can be easily used to test different factors' contribution to the response variable. Without it, engineers may be left guessing what could be influencing the response variable, or they would have to do a multitude of separate tests to identify these factors. Blocking does not always increase precision. A weakness in blocking is that we lose degrees of freedom in the process, and if the experimenter does not have a large sample size, the loss in degrees of freedom could substantially skew the results, leaving the experimenter with less precision than prior to blocking. As long as the reduction in variability is worth the sacrifice of degrees of freedom, then using a randomized block experiment is beneficial.